On this episode of Gun Talk Hunt, we're talking about a specific blacktail nickname jumper with Shawn Skipper. You're going to want to tune in right now. Hey, this episode of Gun Talk Hunt is brought to you by Silencer Central, Silence Delivered, Brownells, serious about firearms since 1939, Crimson Trace, and Lockdown, secure your lifestyle. Hey, welcome in, Gun Talk Hunt fans. I am your host, KJ, and today we are in basically the bowels of the CMP range here at Talladega, and I'm with my good buddy, Shawn Skipper of Leupold. I am actually sporting a Leupold sweatshirt. Look at this.
You're very branded up. I'm impressed.
That doesn't happen often.
I mean, you know that I'm impressed with you. Yeah, I know.
Yeah,
but,
I really don't brand up that often. But it is cold out here. It's wet. It's rainy. But we're out here shooting new products. So this is part of the POMA, which is the Professional Outdoor Media Association's Shooting Sports Showcase. So what are you guys doing out here?
So we're out here, interacting with guys like you and Ryan, and also other media members. I've seen some retailers come through, things like that, and then just other industry partners too. There are several other brands here, most of whom we get along with very well. So we're always happy to let them see our products and just spend some face time with them. But it's been a great little event. The weather is not treating us well. That's why I'm in a rain jacket, still trying to dry out. I left Beaverton, Oregon, where it's always gray and raining in March, and I came to Alabama, where it's apparently gray and raining in March. So dealing with a little bit of that, but
it always is, man. That's what it's about. Like it's this time of the year, you never know what you're going to get, especially like those. I think it's the months between like February and like early April. Like you never know what kind of day you're going to have.
No, it could be 85 or it could be 40 and raining.
Yeah.
Of course, the only true thing here in the South, which I know is your home now, is humidity. Like that's coming no matter what.
Oh, it's like a train coming down the pipe. Yeah. Like I can see that humidity train coming.
Yeah. In this part of the world, it's death, taxes, and humidity.
Death, taxes, and you. That's a good way to put it. I never thought about that. So we're out here shooting some new optics from you guys. But one thing I wanted to like kind of talk about, and we did zero prep for this. Zero prep.
It's how we do our best work.
It is. This is how we do our best work. But I kind of wanted, and something I never knew you guys produced was tripods. Mm-hmm. Like I'm using the camera that you are watching this on right now, and if you're listening, I'm sorry, but it's propped up on a Leupold tripod, and it is slimline. And the adjustments are very intuitive, and they're very easy, which I like, especially in a tripod that either I'm going to run on a camera or on a gun or on a bipod or a spotting scope or I guess your binoculars too, because they have attachments, right?
Mm-hmm. Absolutely.
But I never knew you guys were producing those, and then one magically showed up in the mail. Thank you.
It's what I do.
Dude, I'm impressed with them. Like, they're very slimline.
No, they are excellent, and they fall into our Pro Gear family of products, right? So for years, at Leupold, we've produced accessories to, all in some relation to optics or optical needs and things like that. Tripods have come and gone. We've had a few iterations of them. The most recent set, there are three: the Alpine, the Pro Guide, and the Mark V, all named after optics lines.
Right.
Which, just like those three, kind of climb in terms of value and quality.
Okay.
They've been fantastic. They've been great sellers, and they've really designed for a multitude of uses. Obviously, you've got your camera on one. I think that's the Pro Guide. That's what it looks like.
It is.
So the Pro Guide and the Mark V, they're a little bit bigger, sturdier, taller, can handle more weight. The Mark V is actually made to, it is built to handle a big, heavy 10, 12-pound rifle if you want to shoot off in competition, things like that. And then the Alpine sits a little bit on the lower end. It's $399, and what it's designed for is really the backpacker, right? The backpacking hunter.
Yeah.
Real super lightweight, super slim. You can throw it in your pack, and it's like it's not even there, just hanging off the back, however you want to do it. So we're really trying to cover the whole breadth of things you could possibly be doing with these things.
Well, and that's so the one that I've got on my camera, I look at it, and it's a lot slimmer than a lot of the ones that I've utilized. But I even think that one is small enough to where, like in a backcountry type situation, that you could use it for multiple uses. And I think when guys are selecting their tripods, that's really what they need to be focused on. Now, if you're going to be in a stand or like a hunting blind or something like that, you can carry in a little bit more gear. But if you're on the run, like I kind of like to have one tripod to rule them all type of situation.
Yeah, and the Pro Guide could be perfect for that if you're okay with, it's going to be heavier than the Alpine, obviously, and a little bit bigger and bulkier, but you can absolutely backpack with that. The Alpine's really made for that guy who's cutting his toothbrush in half to cut weight, right? Because he's got everything he needs going up on the mountain with him for 10 days, and he doesn't eat. That extra ounce is going to be a problem.
Are you serious? There are guys that'll cut their tooth. I would never be that guy because they make those little travel-sized toothbrushes.
I've never actually met anyone that's done it. I know that's the comment.
That's a great one.
That's like the colloquialism that I've heard before about the guys cutting toothbrushes. I have not personally seen anyone do it, but if it's out there in like the urban legend, somebody's done it.
Dude, if I'm telling you right now, if you're cutting your toothbrushes in half, I guess kind of like, man, just lift a little more weight in the weight room. Come on.
Can we get a backcountry hunting training video from you that's just like, look, guys, just lift more, okay?
Just lift more. Come on.
Get up on my level.
Yeah, get up on my level. No, they need to like go down a couple levels because I'm like way down there. No, but when you're selecting those tripods and like are they carbon fiber composite legs?
Carbon fiber, yeah.
Okay, they are carbon fiber.
Yeah.
All right. That'll trim a little weight. And then, so it's the screw leg. So it has 3 sections of legs that you can screw out. But I like it. I've been impressed with it. And a ball head, which is key to really kind of fine tuning those optics, and they lock in really steadily, which I like. But you say the Alpines are around the $399 mark?
Yep. And then you kind of go up from there, $499.
Yeah.
And you kind of keep climbing as you get Mark 5.
Just keep climbing.
These are they're performance high quality materials that go into these things. They're set up for the ARCA system, as you can see.
Yep.
The ARCA rail, which is that really comes from has gotten very popular in the shooting
community. Oh, the PRS community. That's all they use, and that's where the biopod attachments come into play. But I even attached one to my hunting rifle this year, an ARCA Swiss, or I guess it's the ARCA Lock rail. And it actually is really, really good. So if you're looking, especially if you go with the one tripod to rule them all mentality, you're going to set up your spotting scope, you're going to set up maybe a camera, your binos, or your gun. You can do that all with like kind of the ARCA system because your camera will have an attachment on it that's a little 2 or 3 inch section of ARCA rail, and then your gun can have up to, I think it's 12 to 16 inches of ARCA rail, so your gun just slides right into that mount on the tripod, and then
it's great in the field too for a hunter. I've used the Pro Guide before to have, whether it's my binoculars or spotting scope on there, on their own plate. Okay, I've spotted a deer. Off comes the spotting scope. On goes my rifle, which is set up for it.
Right. And you're not losing time there. You're not like having to switch out a head or switch out.
No, it's
anything on your rifle. Fractions of a second. So what would your fall look like this year? I know Alaska was a big trip for you. Hopefully, I'll get there one of these days. We're trying to put it together.
I was just talking to a guy outside who was telling me he was going to go to Alaska with you.
Uh-oh.
Adam.
Oh, gosh. Yes. Adam. That's funny. You were just talking to him?
Yeah, he was down on the Leupold Bay shooting up some of our new stuff.
Really?
Yeah.
Well, I hope he gets to make it out there. We're currently kind of putting it together, getting everything lined out. But Alaska's a different country. And you can do it a lot of different ways. Now, you did it... Did you stay in a cabin and then get boated out, or did you stay on a boat?
We stayed on the boat. We did the boat transporter deal, which has been around for a while now. It's just really, really unique and cool option.
Yeah.
So the deal is, so our outfitter, I guess you want to call him, he was not a guide. He could not guide us to these animals. He could not put a hand on these animals after we shot one. He couldn't even point and say, hey, look, I think I see a deer. Like, none of that's kosher. He is, all he's doing is he's housing us, he's feeding us, and he's taking us to and from shore each day.
And they make real sure you understand, like, they have no hand in this. Like, and I think that's, kind of saving their butts. But I mean, legally they can't do it because they don't have a guide license that they would have to get in order to perform all those things.
Insurance stuff.
Yeah.
And they choose not to get any of that, and they just charge you essentially to it's a floating hotel.
Right. Which is fine. I mean, I've got no problem with it, and that's kind of what we're looking at. But if you can do it a couple different ways. You can do the guide, and they've got some lodges, like some houses that you stay at. They take you out every day. You can do it that way. But this really is more of the kind of it's pretty much as DIY as you can get.
Yeah. No, I mean, you're dropped off on shore and given a radio, and they tell you, I will pick you up here at dark or sooner if you radio me. And
what?
Don't get eaten by a bear.
Yeah, don't get eaten by a bear. What was the time of year that you went?
So we went a couple days after Thanksgiving, so it was like November 27th, 28th was our first day actually hunting on the island, and that went into the first couple days of December.
Okay.
And it was pretty brutal for us. We caught a really nasty weather spell there, and Kodiak. Kodiak being with where it's situated in the Pacific doesn't typically get super cold, like not interior Alaska cold.
Right.
It gets a lot of the coastal air and the breeze, and it keeps things moderated.
Yeah.
We had a real nasty front come through, and with the wind chill, we had several days -15, -16 degrees.
Blah.
Really? Then it warmed up to 30 one day, just long enough to dump a foot of snow on us, and then it went back down to -15 degrees.
Just to freeze it up again.
Yeah, to turn it into ice.
Just in case you weren't miserable enough.
Yeah, now you're having to drive your leg through a couple inches of ice with every step because you're crunching along. Yeah.
So how was sneaking up on the deer at that time? Were you real sneaky?
It wasn't happening. We killed plenty of deer, but we also that's the other side of the sword, right?
Yeah.
It was bad for us. It was bad for the deer. They all had to come down to the beach because they needed food.
Oh, so you didn't have to break a lot of brush.
No, because they were coming down. They had to come down to stay alive.
Oh, well, to stay alive until they met your merry band of gentlemen.
Most of them stayed alive.
Most of them stayed alive. What size blacktail were you guys harvesting? I mean, were you in that 80-inch class to 100-inch class? Or,
yeah, everything was kind of right in there. We killed a couple little forkies that wouldn't have scored that high. I killed a deer that I think would score 0 at this point.
Well, tell that story because it actually is an interesting story, and I can kind of queue up a lot of these questions because I've heard bits and pieces of the story from you before, but I also heard it on Joseph Von Benedict's podcast, Backcountry Hunting, or the Backcountry podcast.
Yeah.
So shout out to him because he brought this story as it was happening because he was there.
Yeah. So that and we recorded that. I mean, hours after we finally got back to the boat, and I was still like sore and covered in blood.
Oh my gosh! Yours or the deer's?
The deer's.
Okay.
I was fine.
All right.
To the best of my knowledge, I did not
right.
bleed. But yeah, we packed him out, and then we had to finish cutting him up.
Yeah.
So, I was still hurting and covered in blood on the boat when we did that podcast.
It was a good podcast because I could hear that you were tired in the podcast. Like that came off very well.
Yeah. So it was the second full day of the hunt, and I was hunting with my buddy Colton and his dad Gary because we were hunting in groups, at least always 2 or 3. Alaska's a rugged place. Forget the giant fauna that might eat you if they find you. You take one wrong step up there and you could be in real trouble.
Yeah.
It's just problems become disasters in Alaska very quickly.
Yeah.
So we're hunting together, and it was actually the day it was snowing, so it was not one of the 15 below days. It was a day it got up to about 35 and was dumping on us.
It was a heat wave.
Yeah, so we're stomping through the snow, and it's blowing in our fases, and we're just having a hard time seeing. And we hike a few miles in, first couple hours of the day, and not seeing a lot. And finally, Colton spots a buck bedded down. God, had to be well over a mile away at that time, just kind of on the edge of this little rise. And we're like, all right, well, let's at least hike closer and get a better look. We have no idea we can tell he's a buck. That's about it.
Well, from a mile away, though, that's probably a fairly decent indication of, he might be something we want to look at.
Yeah, well, given that there was nothing else to look at that time besides snow, we were going to look. Plus, we had to keep walking. We had to keep doing something. So
be warm.
Yeah, so we hike, and again, a couple more hours to kind of get over in position because we're starting to go through stretches where the snow's drifting. It's getting deeper, so there's a lot of crawling up and down. And we get over there, and we cut it probably down to about 500 yards from this critter, and Colton gets in the spot and scope, and it's a little forked horn. and he's still in velvet, which means he's what they call a stag.
Stag, yeah.
So up there,
or a cactus buck.
A cactus buck.
Yeah.
So up there, I've heard numbers between like 3 and 10%. So I don't know which one's accurate myself, not being a biologist, but I've heard that many deer of the bucks are cactus bucks, and what happens is they are essentially sterile and just genetically predisposed to.
So they don't shed their antlers.
They don't shed their antlers. They don't lose their velvet. They don't have anything going on downstairs.
Yeah.
When we rolled them over.
They are not a ladies' man.
Yeah.
Is that what you're
and they're just not there. And apparently they eat really well too because they get real fatty.
No kidding.
They don't have the testosterone, right? It's
it's not burning off as fast. Okay.
So he sees it, and Colton has actually been to Kodiak before, and so has Gary, and they've killed some really nice Sitka blacktail. So when he saw that, and he was like, "You're up, man. This one's you," because I had not killed one yet at all.
Oh.
So he wasn't gonna. He didn't want to. He didn't want to shoot. He was like, "You're up. Let's go get you this deer." And so we start stalking, and we cut it down to probably about 260, 270.
Yeah.
And we get set up for a shot, and he's still kind of bedded, but us getting all situated gets him to stand up, which was honestly for the best anyway. Gave me a better shot. Now we've been going over these kind of rises all day, these little ridges, up and down, pretty gentle, but lots up and down. It looked like he was just bedding down on another ridge like that, and we're shooting from one to the other. It's set up. I take the shot, hits him a little high, spines him. He goes down, hit him again. He's dead, and he kind of tumbles down and starts to roll and disappears off the ridge. We're like, cool, he's going to be down at the bottom. We'll go get him.
Or he's right on the other side.
He saved us some work. We get up and we high five and hug and start walking over to him. And
okay, before you get into the recovery, because this is where it really starts getting good, I'm going to jump in here from a word from our sponsors.
Lockdown. The new secure walls are ready to go. So these are modular design, and you can place them on your walls, and you could turn basically any wall into a storage area. So what I'm looking at is getting at least 4 sections of this and putting them above my reloading bench so I can keep everything organized and in place. Now, these are modular, so you can kind of configure them to whatever space you want, but let's say you've got a closet you don't know what to do with. You got some space there that you can actually turn into a vault. So you add in some secure walls, you add a lockdown vault door, and you got it all taken care of, and you got a vault right there ready to go. But visit lockdown.com, and don't forget, enter code GUNTALK10 for an additional 10% off your order. Really helps out. Lockdown.com. And Crimson Trace. Okay. Crimson Trace makes great hunting optics. It's really nice. It's part of their brush line series of scopes, but they've got a new rig. It's actually called the rig. It's their rapid illumination grip. And now, why on a Gun Talk Hunt podcast would you hear about this? Well, if you enjoy night hunting hogs, this would be very important to you because it offers 500 peak lumen weapon light. That's what it is. So 500 peak lumens helps you light up the area. So if you're out, you're calling for coyotes or you're calling for hogs at night, you simply engage the ambidextrous grip and it'll light up 500 lumens of hello, I see you there type of light. So definitely check that out at crimsontrace.com. And as always, this product, the rig, which is rapid illumination grip, is backed and protected by their lifetime warranty.
All right, we're back with Shawn Skipper of Leupold Optics. I'm branded up just for him. We're talking about Sitka blacktail, and you've just broken this shot. Mm-hmm. You've high-fived. You're walking to get this. It's snowing.
Yeah.
And how far, you're at the recovery site, how far from the recovery site back to the boat? Because in Alaska, you have to take everything. Mm-hmm. Right? You have to take everything.
You're talking
off
you're carving out rib meat.
Yeah.
You're carving out the little chunks out of the ribs. Yeah.
Yeah. You have to take everything. And the transporter can't help you. Mm-hmm. It's just you and your buddies. Okay. So you're walking up.
So we're in an interesting spot, right? So as we're walking up, we probably hiked, 4 or 5 miles from where we initially got off the little skiff that dropped us off. We can see the coast in a different direction is maybe a mile, but it's kind of rough going through that area. So it's a weird spot to be in, but we're going to figure it out.
Yeah.
until we got over to this deer, and then we realized we were going to have a major problem. So rather than rolling down into like another soft bottom, there was no bottom. It was 100+ foot drop, sheer drop. He went down off a cliff into a frozen box canyon.
No.
100 feet below us with absolutely no approach.
You gotta be kidding.
We looked down.
Did you look down?
Straight down. Short of
look at each other.
Yeah.
Look down.
Well, Colton looked up and down a couple times, and he turned to us. He goes, "This is bad." Thanks, Colton. Dynamite analysis.
Yeah.
So, I mean, we honestly didn't know what to do. Short of having technical climbing gear, there was no way to go right down to this deer. Like, I'm not talking. There was no ledges. There was no easier. It was.
It's on all
rocks.
sides of him.
All but one side, which was inaccessible.
Oh, so you couldn't get over to him anyway.
Yeah. So we were like, what do we do now? So we, after standing around for about 45 minutes debating and discussing, like, because he landed on like a frozen creek. We knew the creek fed all the way out to the coast, so it was like, okay, what if we walked out to the coast and then came back on the creek?
Walk up.
Ran into cliffs that direction too. So now we hike back to the deer. So now we're standing above the 150 feet above the deer again, like still stumped.
Still looking.
Yeah, we're into the afternoon hours now. And we're like, what do we do?
Because it's gonna get dark.
Yeah, and we're cold. We've been getting dumped on all day. Granted, to our credit, we never did see a bear track or see anyone on the trip see a bear during the.
No kidding.
This is day 2, and we know the Kodiak bears are out there. Like, the longer he sits there dead, the longer we're putzing around. We're increasing the odds of maybe seeing one. Fortunately, it seemed like the weather just kept them down.
Man.
So we're like,
so you didn't have like a bunch of rope and
no, I mean
nothing.
We didn't know what to do. So Colton's like, well, what if we hike up and we kind of get around? There was another ridge above us, kind of up there. Mm-hmm. It seems like if we get over that, maybe we'll get lucky, and from there we can drop down to the back of the creek. Like, okay, it's really the only option we got. So we start climbing up, and we climbed through some nasty stuff. And Colton, who's a fantastic hunter and in far better shape than I am, he did fine. His father Gary and I struggled a bit more.
Yeah.
Like we were hands and knees crawling up. Like,
no kidding.
Yeah, it was just it's steep enough that you were not going up on 2 legs even with trekking poles.
No
it was
kidding.
Just crawling.
Did you guys have trekking poles?
We did.
Okay.
Through the snow, just crawling through the snow and up. And when we kind of crested the top of that ridge, we caught a break, and it leveled off for a while, and then it did drop down to the back of the creek. So we were able to gradually, over the course of a couple hours, ease down through the back, get to the creek, and then we had to follow the creek back up. So we walked past the deer. We had to follow back up to this little box canyon where my deer was laying, and Gary, who's a veteran hunter and has helped on recoveries for sheep and goat and everything else, said unequivocally that he had never had a recovery like that in his career. And he's recovered sheep and goat for people.
Are you serious?
Yeah.
Well, it's just the technical aspect of it. You weren't prepared for something like that, and I mean, I guess that goes for like, but how do you prepare for that?
Yeah. So we come around to him in this box canyon, and he's backed up. He's laying there, dead as a doornail now on the ice.
Oh yeah, he's probably frozen stiff.
He's got a frozen waterfall behind him. You could hear the water in the waterfall still kind of churning out a little bit and running under our feet.
That's got to be a little bit nerve-wracking.
Yeah, I mean, if we hadn't, honestly, it's good that everything was frozen up. Otherwise, we might not have been able to get in there.
Yeah.
So we get to him and had to chase a golden eagle off of him.
Nuh-uh.
Big old golden eagle was like getting ready to go to town.
He's like, here we go.
Yeah.
Thank you, Skip.
You had to give him the get out of here. And we got to work on him because again we're starting to lose light.
Yeah.
The downside, and this was no surprise to anybody, both gone. On the fall, the horn's gone.
The horns are gone.
Just missing in action.
That's why he scores 0.
Yeah, we looked for him.
Missing in action.
We looked for him for a little bit, but we had no idea at what point during the fall, because it looked like he'd banged the side of the cliff a couple times.
Okay.
We had no idea at what point they'd flown off. And there's snow and ice everywhere, and brush, so they could be anywhere.
Yeah.
So we just sacrificed him and said they're gone.
It is. So did you pack him out whole, or were you carved him up there?
With all 3 of us, we carved him up, boned him out.
Really?
And split him amongst the 3 of us. We just went ahead and got that
and
done.
then you had to. Did you go back out?
No.
Up, or did you go down?
This is where it finally got easy. We were just able to, once we got down to the creek bed, we were just able to follow it all the way to the coast.
Oh, no kidding.
Just, you'd occasionally, fortunately the water wasn't very deep. It was a few inches deep in spots. So you'd crack through and just kind of curse and kick the ice off your boot and keep walking.
Dang it, my boot's wet.
Yeah, and then we just stomped out, and
No kidding.
Radioed in, and by the time we got to all the way to the beach line, I was just torched.
Oh, I bet.
So
what type of because you got to be wary of your hydration. You got to be wary of your energy levels.
Mm-hmm.
So did you bring freeze dried meals and a jet boil, or what did y'all do?
Everybody had water. It was funny in the mornings because Alaska being what it is, and this being it's very much sight hunting. We wouldn't even get to the island until 9:30 or 10 because that's when you could start seeing these deer.
Right.
So we'd get up, you'd have a casual breakfast and coffee and chill and pack yourself a lunch. But that day, and God bless Colton's like, I'm taking my jet boil. Everybody take one of these freeze-dried meals.
No kidding.
Well, I think we never had time to stop and eat, so nobody ate.
Oh.
We were too busy, messing with this deer.
Yeah.
And it was, so we got back to the
You
boat.
had all that.
Everyone still had all their freeze-dried meals in their bag.
Jeez.
From what I understand, Colton is just such an aggressive hunter. Like, he wants to go, that I don't think he ever actually ate one of his freeze-dried meals.
Ever.
Yeah, he always had it there.
It's
more like an emergency ration.
I think that's what it is. I think it's an emergency ration because when you get out into desolate places like that you don't know, if you guys were still trying to hike that thing out at 10 o'clock at night,
yeah,
then you're starting to look like that's bad news.
Yeah. No, and so we never did eat, but we were okay. Had a big breakfast. While we were in the canyon was really the second hairiest part. The hairiest part was some of the climbing we had to do to get up and over.
Right.
Which I really had no business doing, but we were getting this deer. But being in the canyon working on him was the second hairiest part because if, say, a Kodiak bear had finally did get wind of him and came down there, there was nowhere for us to go. There was nowhere for the bear to go. There was nothing. It was going to be...
But you guys were well armed.
Yeah, but it was going to be a confrontation.
Oh, yeah. Because, for sure.
There wouldn't even have been a way for us to scuttle the carcass and be like, yep, bear wins and get out because we had a frozen waterfall behind us. Like, where are we going?
Yeah. Your backs are up against it. Yeah. Literally.
And so it would have been very interesting. Fortunately, we didn't have any encounters like that.
Oh my gosh!
Just
good thing.
All
right.
So, but the good news is, I have a sense of humor. So when we packed this deer out, we took all the meat.
Yeah.
I could have scuttled the banged up head, but I chose not to.
Really?
I stuffed it in my bag and took it with me. And
of course you did.
Had it European mounted.
With
his little fragment of horns.
Well, but you kept it. It's a great story.
And then I had the taxidermist burn the name Jumper into the wooden plate.
Yeah, that was his name. Jumper.
His name is Jumper.
Jumper, the Sitka blacktail deer. All right, we're going to jump in here real quick and hear some more from our sponsors.
Silencer Central, and silence has been delivered to my house in the form of a Banish 30 suppressor. I was really excited to get this through because it was a year and 4 days. But with the new eForms process, it's taking far less than that. So this whole new process is up and running through the ATF. It's very easy, and Silencer Central walks you through it completely top to bottom. So they'll send you basically your fingerprinting kit, and you send them a photo, which can be taken by your iPhone or whatever phone you use. So probably not one of those flip phones, though. I don't think I would recommend that. But if you have an iPhone or an MS phone, whatever it is, they will work. So you send all that in, and Silencer Central will manage your trust for the lifetime of the trust. So no matter who you put on it, whatever you got listed in there, they will manage it for the entirety of its lifetime. Very nice for them to do that. But there's a variety of suppressors that they offer. It's not only the Banish 30. Whatever you want, I'm sure they've got it at silencercentral.com. Brownells, they've been serious about firearms since 1939. Not only firearms, they are also in the optics business with their new 1:6x24 match precision optic. That's their MPO with illuminated donut reticle. It's not just for cops, folks. This is a low power variable optic that is a donut reticle. Like, how cool is that? So your eye is round, right? So instead of a squared off reticle, they put it to the shape of your eye. It's a donut, and very nice. And your eye goes easily to the target. It engages, and you can engage targets all the way out to 200 yards and even further. If I can hit something at 200 yards with this optic, I am sure that you can. So it's all assembled for Brownells in Japan, which means you get the finest multi-coated lenses. and a glass-etched reticle. It's the donut. It's the MPO from Brownells, and you can find that at brownells.com.
All right, we're back here with Shawn Skipper of Leupold, and we're talking about Jumper, the Sitka black-tailed deer that lost all his horns. Now, Sitka is kind of a cool place, and if you're looking to go on a do-it-yourself hunt or a hunt and you're saving up a lot of money, I think that's probably one of the, aside from maybe an Argentinian dove hunt, one of the more target-rich environments and one of the better opportunities to get more shots than just one. You know, because a lot of guys will either do like a moose or an elk or something like that, and they get one. Now, on Sitka or in Kodiak, you can get 3.
Up to 3.
Up to 3. And tags are like $350 each. But they also have reindeer there, or caribou.
Yeah, on certain parts of the island, there are, I guess they call them feral reindeer.
They do. They call them feral reindeer, and they keep calling them reindeer. But I'm like, well, it's a caribou, because they don't there's not really a lot of reindeer left in this world, right? Like legit reindeer.
You know, I don't know the story on reindeer.
I don't.
But anyway. I do know that that is what they call them on Kodiak, is feral reindeer, and there are portions of the island where you can absolutely access them on foot.
Yeah.
And they are 100% legal to kill.
They are, and that tag will cost you $650. You only get one of them.
Once you packed out one of those, you don't want to pack out a second.
Oh gosh, no. Well, and we're talking to a guide about setting one up, and what he suggested, he was like, yeah, get 2 for your group. Like he said, only get 2. You can't party hunt them, but like the guy who's going to shoot them, like everyone's going to like basically pitch in and help out to get that thing out, because it is bigger than just a Sitka blacktail. But how did you come to rest on deciding to go to Kodiak?
So I worked with that one with Joseph from the Backcountry Hunting podcast and Colton, and it was both something that was kind of on their bucket list, and it like you said, it's just a very attainable opportunity.
Yeah.
We were just paying transporter fees, and we threw a tip at the guy that owned the boat and would help us out. But
right.
it was still affordable within the realm. You're not dropping $8,000-$10,000 like you would on a fully guided hunt. You're not doing that. The tags aren't that expensive, and it's just a challenge, right? That is still attainable for anyone that can hike a little bit and knows, and knows some of the key things about deer hunting and just being safe in the woods. You don't have to know that land, right? You can do a little scouting on. There's enough deer in the island. You do some scouting on X,
like your Onyx,
going in, you can probably put yourself in a position to see deer.
Yeah.
I can't guarantee you're going to see a once-in-a-lifetime buck without some homework, but you can find deer, right? There were some mornings that, while the skiff was bouncing in, we had deer walking out on the beach. Like, there are animals all over this island.
Yeah. They're not going anywhere.
No.
As long
as they have a good winter, their numbers stay very healthy.
Yeah. And that's one of the things that I think guys that are looking at an opportunity of where you get to hunt Alaska. And I think that in itself is really, there's an aura about it. It's an attainable goal. And I don't think you can go wrong by choosing a blacktail hunt. That's just my thoughts.
And then there were also other opportunities involved. Like we did the boat deal, and as part of that, we could go hunt ducks, like climb up on shore and hunt ducks if we wanted to.
Right. Or you could fish.
Because
a lot of these transporters are fishing guides.
They are fully licensed fishing guides. So they can drop a line for you and take you where the fish are. And we also our group killed a few fox, some red fox, and I was only going to shoot a fox if I saw one of the ones on the island that's very gray in color.
Yeah, the gray or the blacks, like the real pretty ones. Yeah. Were you going to have it like full mounted?
If I just, absolutely. Yeah. No, apparently that led to a little funny incident. I was chasing a fox the one evening and I was trying to get a shot on him. Of course you were. I was trying to get a shot on him, and I guess one of the guys in the boat saw it. I didn't see this all transpire because it was behind me. Another red fox came running up the shoreline, had no idea I was there, and it came over the bump and got almost ran into my rear end, and they said it like Scooby-Doo, like, oh no.
Dude, that's funny.
Yeah, that is good. He probably thought I was a bear. He was like, Kodiak bear, get out of here.
That's funny. So did you about guys who maybe headed to Kodiak, or guys, what would you say is probably the maybe 2 or 3 most important things to remember when headed that way.
With Kodiak, you want to have the best gear that you can afford.
Yeah.
Alaska's hard on everything. I was wearing some very, very nice high-end camo and shredded some of it up through going through alders and things like that. Like, it's just a gnarly environment. And the thing, it's not like you can, unless you were so filthy rich, you're calling for an air transport to drop off another bag of gear. There is no back, there's no Walmart. There's no sporting goods store. There's none of that, right?
Mm-hmm.
You're either borrowing from, if you tear something up or break something, you're either borrowing from on the boat or SOL.
Yeah.
So, have good gear, trust your gear, know your gear, and, know what you're doing, right? Because like we said, and you do not need to be master class, tie every knot in the world, sutured your own wound, took your own kidney out because it wasn't feeling good. You don't need to be that level.
Okay.
But you need to be prepared because, problems become disasters very quickly there.
Yeah.
What's a problem in your home woods could potentially be a fatal disaster in Alaska very quickly.
That's true.
It's an unforgiving environment. The terrain's tough. There are 10-foot tall bears running all around.
All around.
And honestly,
they're big.
They are. And, while bear to human encounters numbers aren't crazy out of the norm up there, they really aren't. The terrain I will circle back to because it's rocky and it's up and it's down and especially if you get snow and you don't necessarily always know what's under your feet. That's the real danger.
That's the scary part. That's what I would worry about. That's why I don't know. I think we're looking at going in early October, which is going to be that pre-rut basically.
Mm-hmm.
They're not going to be full on chasing and rutting and just acting like maniacs, but I mean I think the shot opportunities are there, and it'll be a little bit less green. It won't be full foliage out there, and but it had to have been a little bit easier picking them up. And we can talk about glass because I mean you are with Leupold. I think one of the more important pieces of gear you can take with you and to be prepared is having good glass. Because these deer are not easy to find a lot of times.
Yeah, so we got lucky again with the snow. All of a sudden, you got these dark gray things running around, a little bit easier to see.
Yeah.
But in their they will blend into their natural environment so well, and they know how to use the alders and the reeds and all just to hide. A lot of the bigger bucks
just bed down.
They bed down, and they never come out of the alders until the weather forces them to, or the rut forces them to. Right. Otherwise, they just stay there. Why wouldn't they? They're safer from everything there.
Yeah.
And so your glass is important, both being able to find the animals, differentiate between the animals. I mean, having a spotting scope that you trust, like our SX5 or our SX4, can save you miles, right? Because
that's a good point.
You look through that spotter and say, no, he's that deer I see is a spike, or no, he's a forky and I want more than a forky. It gives you the opportunity to save the legs, because you've only got so many miles you can put on in a day before you lose light or just wear yourself out.
Right. Yeah, and I'm telling you, if you glass a lot, if you're in open country, like in the western states or anything like that, and you have to spend a lot of time on glass, like you find out, like the more you start spending on glass, the more relaxed your eyes are going to be. And I think that's something that a lot of guys don't think about, which would benefit you greatly, especially western antelope. That's one of the better illustrations I could use, because again their hide and everything blends into that kind of that prairie grass. And if you're sitting there and you're glassing all day on a couple of hillsides, your eyes are going to become fatigued, you're going to get tired, and then when you go to get down on that optic to take that animal, I mean you're going to be uncomfortable.
One particular product I might recommend is our BX5 Santiam binoculars in the 15 power, so 15 by 56s. If you're not necessarily getting that detail you might on a 60 power spotter when you're looking 2 miles, but you get a great field of view, and the BX5s are just designed to really eliminate eye fatigue, right? You can glass with them all day. Your eyes won't get tired. You won't get that headache that with lesser products you might. So they're fantastic. Still lightweight, just being some binos to haul around. We make a mount that lets you get them on one of the tripods so you can have a good steady rest. Sit down against a rock, a bush, whatever, get comfortable. Glass all day, you're good to go. And then I'd say, I know you've gone fully over to the Church of Mills, and that's perfectly fine. We make plenty of those scopes too.
I love mills. I don't like MOAs as much.
But I would say anything from our rifle scope line, especially like the VX5 HD or the VX6 HD. I was using the 6 when I was up there. fantastic, especially with the CDS, the custom dial system. You get it cut to your load. You're shooting 400 or 500 yards. We'll run the ballistics. You can give us the data based on where in Kodiak you're going to be.
I mean, that's one of the coolest things is the CDS. That is cool. The dials, because you're right. You can go, okay, hey, I'm going to Kodiak, and this is my load. These are would you say you'd have to give your average, like temps and everything like that?
Yeah, for ballistics, we'll run the average temps that you're going to deal with and the average elevation. Now, elevation can swing 2,000 feet either way. Temperature's 20 degrees each way. So unless you had a crazy front come through like we did, where we went from one day it was 20 below, and the next day it was 40 above, 60 degree swing. Unless you had something crazy like that, you're going to be good, right? Okay. On your average day on Kodiak, your average week on Kodiak, you're not going to jump more than 40 degrees, like some crazy number. Yeah. So, we can take care of it. Cartridge, velocity, elevation, all that stuff. You get it, and get that to us, we'll get the dial.
Again, with that CDS dial, all it is, if it's going to be a 600 yard shot, you dial it to 6. Mm-hmm. That's 600. Yeah. So just always make sure you check your dials before you shoot.
Always go back to 0.
Always go back to 0, folks.
Always go back to 0.
Or at least your hunter 0, whatever that might be.
And then, the other thing with our rifle scope line in Alaska, right? If you go up to Alaska and start hanging out with the guides, the ones that are full guides and will carry their own rifles mostly for bear protection, things like that. The one thing they've got in common is almost all of them have the gold ring. And it's because there's not a single environment in the United States harsher than Alaska. No. And there are no scopes in the world tougher than Leupolds, and that's why these guys are choosing them, because they can't afford to have them crap out on them. Whether it's cold, rough, wet, anything, they can't afford a failure, because it could mean their life up there. It's not I need to shoot a nice deer. It's I'm dead.
I'm dead.
So and they live a very different lifestyle than a lot of people here in the lower 48. So they need to have an optic they can count on, because it could be life or death there. Yeah. And that's why they all choose Leupold. So if someone's going up there to hunt that island, take our rifle scope, take one you can trust, you can rely on. We guarantee performance, not warranty failure like some of our competitors.
There it is, guaranteed performance. All right, Skip, thank you, appreciate it. And we are coming to you from the Talladega CMP range here in Alabama, but as always, Gun Talk Hunt fans, don't forget, keep those muzzles pointed in a safe direction and always be on the hunt. And if you have any topics that you want to discuss or you want me to cover something, reach out to me at kj@guntalk.com and I'll answer all your questions, and we'll probably read them here on the show. But you guys take care.